Everyone who knows of the Narutop99 poll probably has some strong opinions about it, and I'm no exception. The winner of the Narutop99 poll gets their own manga written by Kishimoto. This gives us a unique opportunity to actually shape the story we love in a way that lets us learn more about our favorite characters and expand the world we love so much. We can learn more about the lore and secrets, finally answering so many long-standing questions like the details of Hashirama's death or how Sakumo and Fugaku got their nicknames. Firstly, I'll go over common picks, the least optimal story-wise picks, and then explain to you my pick and why it's the best story-wise. So some common picks that aren't entirely suboptimal that I've been seeing online are characters like Sakumo, Fugaku, Tobirama, Madara, Hashirama, Shisui, and the Sannin. They're all decent options who give us a good look into their timeline, although some come with issues for a solid story. Firstly, Sakumo died sometime likely in his 20s to 30s, and honestly, he wouldn't really make a good main character, as he gave into his depression. He didn't overcome it, so it's not going to be as enjoyable to watch as a main story. For Fugaku, we would definitely get a good look into the Uchiha, and he actually lived a decently long life, so I don't have any real complaints about Fugaku, but I just believe there are better options. Tobirama is probably my second favorite pick because he lived during the Warring States period and also well into the founding of the village. Tobirama could give us a lot of insight into earlier generations of Konoha, but again, I see better options in other characters. Madara Uchiha. A story through his eyes would likely involve constant epic fights, though most of our sight would likely be in the Warring States period, which in my personal opinion is less impactful or compelling than characters that have lived more so during the era of villages. Hashirama has the same issues as Madara and the same benefits, although I do think Hashirama would make a better main character than Madara. I still see better options, which I will discuss near the end. Shisui, I can see why people have an interest in him, but people overhype Shisui a lot. For his age, he was incredibly talented like Itachi, Minato, and our main cast, but beyond that, he never really lived through many interesting experiences. Shisui is believed to have died when he was between 14 to 16, which means there's a remarkably small window for content from Shisui. And for the Sannin, each individual has plenty of story to tell, such as the story of the squad under the tutelage of Hiruzen. We can see how Orochimaru fell to the dark side, potentially working with Danzo. The Sannin's time in the war, Tsunade's love interest and how that developed, how Jiraiya eventually became a Toad Sage, the clashes between Jiraiya and Orochimaru, and so much more. Jiraiya makes the most sense as an actual main character, but the other Sannin also show unique and interesting perspectives on the overall story. But again, I have one final option that is better than the Sannin as an individual, and can give us a unique insight into the Sannin regardless. Beyond these characters, there's many characters who are voted for, but wouldn't add anything of value to our beloved world. Characters that are even in the top 10, like Itachi, Naruto, Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, even Obito, and many others. We've already seen their stories, and we know so much about all of these characters and their world at the time. Stories based on characters like these just wouldn't give us more compelling world building. I'm sure Kishimoto would be able to make up something interesting, but overall we won't really get something truly game-changing. And you may make the argument of it being a short manga, which is fair, but we have more than hope for something bigger. Boruto is not performing as well as Naruto did relative to the times, and while Boruto does have times where it performs exceptionally well, pretty much everyone can agree Boruto is somewhat of a flop compared to Naruto. I mean, just looking at the anime, 70% of it is filler, so it's no wonder it doesn't perform consistently as well as Naruto did for its times. We already know other IP has been getting looked at, like the novels, specifically Sasuke Retsuden. It's been getting its own short manga series and has plans to be animated. There's a solid chance they're testing the waters for a new series, so picking someone who wouldn't be able to have a new series as your primary vote may result in wasted potential. If you're okay with that, then this video may not be for you. But if you truly want a new amazing series with our beloved Naruto world, then even if there's only a small chance, I want to recruit your votes. Finally, the time to reveal who I think you should vote for if you want the best story. I'm sure you're all assuming Minato is who I will mention, but that's not the case at all, and I'll explain why later. My vote, and the one I'm trying to convince you all to vote for, is Hiruzen, the god of shinobi. Now this may turn you off from this video, but hear me out. Hiruzen is of the first generation born into Konoha, after it was founded. This can show us a glimpse into the beginnings of Konoha, as well as the politics between the villages. We may even get to see some of the fights between Madara and Hashirama in more detail, as Hiruzen likely lived during the time before Madara even deserted Konoha, potentially even giving us Madara's Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. Hiruzen was also a member of Tobirama's squad along with the village elders, which we know next to nothing about. He also received special training from Hashirama, even being praised to have more talent than Tobirama. In all 3 data books, sometimes multiple times within each, they say Hiruzen is the strongest Hokage, and although we don't have any feats to back this up, we have several more statements from the manga itself. Most people hate on the data books and say they're full of nonsense, but I honestly think if you look at everything with a grain of salt and are able to pick through hyperbole, then everything in the data books is entirely justifiable with in-world explanations. On top of this, Kishimoto is the one who constantly wrote that Prime Hiruzen was the strongest Hokage, and that he knows every technique and is so much weaker now in his old age. Kishimoto, when writing, would obviously look back on what he has written to keep his story consistent. This would allow us to see the formation of the God of Shinobi, hyped up by Kishimoto as the strongest Hokage, stronger than Hashirama, stronger than the all-beloved Minato, and stronger than any Kage we've seen before. Hiruzen has even fought in literally every single great Shinobi war. He lived to see Hashirama's Sage Mode and Hashirama's death. Hiruzen was a part of the team with Tobirama while he was Hokage, and during Tobirama's death, giving a chance to see exactly how Tobirama was able to be killed, finally giving him some credit. Hiruzen also trained the Sannin, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade, allowing us to get more about all of them, seeing their stories, as I've described before, but from the unique perspective of Hiruzen, who led the charge in many battles, constantly fighting for Konoha. We can even see the unique interactions of how Orochimaru was essentially raised by Hiruzen, and how Orochimaru was eventually led to the dark side, possibly through the influence of Danzo. We also know nothing about any of the Sannin's parents besides a few tidbits such as Orochimaru's parents are dead, and Tsunade has a Senju parent, and we know her grandparents. I don't believe we know anything of Jiraiya's or how he even discovered and became a Toad Sage. And there's so much more to discuss about Hiruzen and what he has lived through to explain why he is the best option, but if I were to go over absolutely everything, this would be much longer, so I'll link to some Reddit posts about Hiruzen, mostly made by my friend. They're a good read and actually inspired this video. But now onto why I don't think Minato is the best choice. Minato, for sure, is a fan favorite, without a doubt. And there is stuff for us to learn through the eyes of Minato, like his training under Jiraiya, as well as how Minato learnt Sage Mode. Minato is charismatic, strong, loved by the fans, and has a strong history as Naruto's father, but the issue with Minato, as a main character, is he has no flaws. A good main character is flawed, and they overcome those flaws. Minato as a main character would be like the main character of a trash isekai with little to no struggles or true development. This leads to a flat story, and people would probably complain about it and end up blaming the writing for Minato's story being boring, if it ends up being longer. Of course, Kishimoto can fabricate flaws for Minato, but that would be inconsistent with what we've seen with kid and adult Minato. On top of that, Minato doesn't have a rival. That's easy to fabricate as well, but you'd have to fabricate a character out of thin air that can rival Minato, which could create plot holes for the future. In the end, Hiruzen comes out as the better choice. He has around the same potential for a long-term prequel as Minato, lived through way more interesting events, had a life surrounded by all of our favorites, praises the god of Shinobi above any other Kage, and has an already well-established rival. And Hiruzen has way more potential to expand the lore and the depth of the world than Minato. While I do think Minato is a good pick, I think even Tobirama would be more interesting as a main character with flaws and rivalry. Comment below what you think would make Minato a more interesting main character besides just liking him more. Even if you can split your votes between Hiruzen and whoever your actual favorite is, getting Hiruzen to that first place would give us the best story to build the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or any of my other content, consider subscribing. That'll guarantee you more content you like. Any video suggestions are appreciated and will likely be done, though I can't promise they will be done immediately.